You've all seen the headlines this week, FDA approves peptides. But I have to open this video out by telling you that the headline is basically wrong in every sense of the word. The FDA didn't approve anything. Not BPC 157, not TB 500. Not one of the 7 were approved. So what actually happened in that room over the last 2 days? Because something sure did. Something kind of extraordinary. The FDA's own advisory panel sat down, looked at the FDA's own scientists and told them they got it wrong on 6 out of the 7 peptides. And I want you to stick around to the end because the strangest part of this whole story isn't the vote at all. It's that the people who actually asked for the vote in the first place had already packed up and walked away before it even happened. But we'll get to that later. And welcome back to Peptide Corner. I'm Tom, a chartered chemical process engineer, which this week basically made me the guy who sat down through 2 full days of government meeting transcripts so you don't have to. You're welcome. And just some quick housekeeping before my lawyers have an aneurysm. This video is for educational and research purposes only, not medical advice. And if you find this video useful, please also smash that like button, hit subscribe and click the bell icon. We're just a small channel covering this stuff properly, and it genuinely helps. Right, over 2 days, a committee called PCAC, the Pharmacy Compounding Advisory Committee, reviewed 7 peptides in total. All the big names, BPC 157, TB 500, MOTS-c, KPV, Semax, Epitalon and DSIP. They asked one big question every single time. Should this peptide go on the 503A bulks list? The list of ingredients compounding pharmacies are allowed to make to order. But here's the twist. Before the meeting, the FDA's own career scientists had already done their homework and handed the panel a verdict. No, on all 7 counts. They said not one peptide met a single one of their 4 tests. Basically, do we know what it is it safe, does it work, and has it been used this way before? 0 out of the 7 got the vote. And you know what? The panel then voted and said yes anyway. BPC 157, 8-6. TB 500, 8-6. KPV the same, MOTS the same, Epitalon the same, Semax, all recommended. On 6 of the 7, the committee overruled its agency's own experts. Nearly all of them got approved, but not quite, because there was exactly one that the committee wouldn't sign off on. DSIP, the sleep peptide, it went down 6-7, rejected. And you know what? Here's exactly why this matters, because this was not a rubber stamp. One pharmacist, David Pope, voted yes on every single other peptide across the 2 days, and on this one voted no. When even a reliable yes flips, it tells you that the DSIP sleep data was just too thin. The studies the FDA looked at were all preliminary and insufficient. The committee agreed with the agency exactly once, and this was it. So let's look at the other 6 then. How do roughly 15 people in a room all look at no on all counts and then press yes anyway? That's where it gets really interesting. Because this wasn't a room full of hype bros, it was full of pharmacists and physicians. And the yes vote basically made one argument. You're grading this on the wrong exam. One pharmacist on the panel, Bobby Hashberger, put it exactly, and I quote, "The 503A standards are not the same as a new drug approval standard." In plain English, that just means nobody's claiming these things are wonder drugs. Compounding is a different, older lane. A licensed pharmacy making something for one specific patient with a prescription. A pain physician, Dr. Christian, said the FDA was using phase 1 drug trial criteria to argue against something that was never asked to be a new drug. And his analogy stuck with me. It's just like refusing to let a kid anywhere near a Ferrari versus putting a professional F1 driver in the passenger seat to guide them. Either way, the peptides are being driven. The only real question is whether there's a professional in the car with them. And that's the part that actually lands, because these peptides are already everywhere on the grey market. One panelist, Dr. Melissa Losky, described a patient who brought in their research-grade vial to check. It came back laced with MDMA and ecstasy. In her own words, she quoted, "That's not protecting the American people." Which, yeah, if you've ever squinted at a certificate of analysis and wondered whether HPLC 99% actually means anything, there's the whole problem in one vial. I made a free 1-page cheat sheet for people reading those reports without a chemistry degree. The link's in the description below for you. The whole safe access case got summed up by one speaker. This is not a vote for or against peptides. It's a vote for or against safe access. But the no votes had a point too, and you should actually hear that. That's because the flip side was real too. The no voters weren't cartoon villains. Dr. Bill Zamboni, a pharmacologist, said it flat out. He voted no because there's so little data, he'd have to figure out how to even dose the thing himself. For Epitalon specifically, there was a genuine flag around telomerase activation, a possible cancer signal. Exactly the thing you want a long-term study on, not a shrug. And then the sharpest objection came from Dr. Brian Lee, saying patients read the FDA put it on a list as the FDA endorses it. In his words, that endorsement can be potentially harmful, and I cannot in good conscience vote yes. Hold that thought, because that's the exact trap in the headline we started with. So let's kill that trap right now. The panel vote does not make anything legal. As a process engineer, regulatory pipelines are weirdly my comfort zone. So here's the flow. Stage 1, the advisory committee. The vote that just happened. That's the clue in the name. It's an advisory committee. They recommend, they don't rule. It's a design review, not a building permit. There's no concrete being poured just yet. The next stage, stage 2, is rulemaking. The FDA takes the recommendation, publishes proposed rules, opens a public comment window where you can literally write in, and then months later, a final ruling. And the kicker, the FDA doesn't have to follow the vote. It usually does, and overruling the panel is very rare. But until a final rule publishes, legally, nothing has changed. And it doesn't stop there. Then we go to stage 3. And I want you to tattoo this on your arm and make it very clear that even a final rule is not FDA approval. Getting on the 503A list means a pharmacy is allowed to compound it. It does not mean the FDA tested it and called it safe and effective. Same molecule, completely different rulebook. And one more wrinkle that shows just how early this process is, a lot of those yes votes came with strings attached. Panelists wanting US-only ingredients, patient registries, mandatory side effect reporting, all the sensible stuff. But you want to know the catch? The FDA basically said they can't require most of it through this pathway. So the guardrails that everyone wants are for now mostly vibes. Look, the bottom line is this. What happened this week is a recommendation. It's not a permission slip. It's a big deal. It genuinely is. But it's the start of a whole bunch of paperwork and not the finish line. Nothing about what's legal to buy changed on Friday. And as for that loose end that I promised you at the start, remember about the people who asked for this vote had walked away? Well, here's the truly bizarre bit. Every one of those 7 peptides was originally nominated by outside groups, and every single nomination had been formally withdrawn before the meeting. The FDA could have just dropped it. Instead, it picked the whole thing back up and ran the review itself. So this entire 2-day showdown happened over a question no one was officially asking anymore. Now give me your take in the comments below, because the panel was split down the middle on this. If a peptide's already all over the grey market, is a supervised prescription version just a safer harm reduction? Or does an FDA list hand it credibility it hasn't actually earned? If you want the full backstory on how this list even works, my video breaking it all down before the vote is live right now on the site. Watch that next, I'll link it for you here. Everything else is on our brand new site, peptidecorner.net, linked below. Until next time, keep safe, keep skeptical, and I'll see you right back here on Peptide Corner.